On what basis is their assessment that 80% of the travel grid plans are going to be based on non-cars, and what are comparatives for other schools of a similar size?
Yeah, as part of the transport assessment that was submitted in support of the application, the applicant used an assessment from the neighbouring Harris Academy Primary School, which is a free-form entry school on Mayflower Road, where they used survey data that demonstrated that they achieved an 80% non-car modal split of pupils and staff attending that school. They used that as the basis of their transport assessment, and all traffic impacts assessment was derived according to those figures and from the standard TRICS database that is used in the industry.
It's quite a similar question to the one fellow behind me just asked, which is that 80%, is that 80% average over a period of time? Is that 80% on the sunniest day of the year? Is that 80% once on the best day when everyone's got in a taxi? What's that 80% that they've achieved at Harris Primary now?
I would assume that would be the best case scenario, but that is what the school did achieve on a particular monitoring day, which was done in accordance to their travel plan monitoring, which is something that the council is in liaison with all schools within the borough. You know, at the end of the day, every school has a different figure every year. It's not a linear.
So the data they put in, if it drops below 80%, presumably that's a measure that's going to have to be taken over a period of time, because we won't be able to just, you know, turn up on the rainy day and say, oh, actually you're down to 10% or whatever. So we're going to have some procedure in place to do that. If that then happens, we enter a quite complicated arrangement with the school about when we're going to do the remediation works and how much we're going to charge them to do so. Does it not make sense for everybody's perspective to just do the remediation works but also have a travel plan that aspires to 80%? I mean, I don't run a school for a living, but I prefer to know what I was going to spend on remediation rather than getting a bill halfway through an academic year.
Yes, that's true. One of the things that Jonathan mentioned in his introduction was the school, through discussions with the council, is and in partnership with the education department, is that they're going to lay on a school transport, like a bus provision, along London Road for those people that aren't eligible for free school transport, but they can elect to go on the school transport system to try.
Can you please start by giving us what assessment has been made of the usage of Mayflower Road by the council?
Well, as part of the application, the applicant has submitted within the TA an assessment of Mayflower Road and the three main junctions. So you've got the junction of Mayflower Road and Gallion Road, Mayflower Road junction with the site access, and Mayflower Road with Hatfield Drive or Road. So with those three main mini roundabout junctions have been assessed, derived from the figures that they've submitted in terms of the traffic impact. That assessment has been undertaken, and it's been agreed that the junctions would not have a material impact or have a material impact on the traffic upon them, and the queue lengths would not be significantly harmful. The problem with schools, though, is that they are in a state of flux on their intake per year. These questions have been asked, but it's very difficult to determine a linear kind of idea of where people will be coming from per year. It is a school that's going to have a gradual intake over the next 7 years, so obviously all assessments have been done from worst case scenario in year 2022. So it's difficult to get the split. Janet will probably know more likely what the split would be in education terms, but in terms of the school transport system, it could come in via Mayflower Road, from either end, and as it is a bus route, it is deemed to be acceptable. Like the road would accept these vehicle types and sizes without any problems.
Even a day when during peak periods, even the bus can't get through, and some buses have made representation to me in terms of access. What comments what's Ensign Bus's view, or any of the local buses, not to be that precise, but what is their view of this proposal?
Cars coming into there at 80%, so 20% of the cars coming in, so it's 200. How far back does that queue go when there's 200 cars up that road?
Thank you, Chair. When you look at an assessment, you obviously look at the peak hour periods, what the traffic generation will be within those hours. Obviously, 278 vehicle movements is roughly around the 20% car split that the transport assessment has said. Obviously, you have to split that between Mayflower Road and potentially Mill Lane, because there's 2 access points. When you look at the queue length, you can't just put 200 vehicles in one area at one time. It has to look at over the peak period. The increase in traffic that was assessed showed that the saturation level for the junction only really increased by about 3 or 4 vehicles per minute. So depending on whether or not there's traffic coming the other way, because it's a roundabout, if there's traffic coming that's blocking the flow of people coming out the junction, for example, then the queue length will go back, but it's not the same as like a simple T-junction where they have to give way to both ways of traffic. So a roundabout works a lot better in reducing traffic congestion, and the roundabouts that are assessed, it shows it's perfectly fine. Obviously there will be significant transport issues within the area with the additional traffic, but the queue lengths aren't anything that we can quantify as being severely impactful on the highway network.
Which one do I push to speak? Chair, members of the committee, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to speak because the school building is in a different ward than Chafford Hundred. But our objection to planning is the perceived increase in traffic flow through Chafford Hundred, in particular as regards to Mayflower Road, the main access point to Harris Primary's proposed new primary academy. Harris Academy say they will plan to sort out any increase in traffic if the uptake, not to walk, cycle or bus to their school, is greater than 80%. Remember that these pupils are under 11 years old. No figures have been asked for by the council on traffic. So there are no figures provided as a datum, so we've got nothing to work on. And each and every car can create up to ½ a tonne of pollution per year. So what figures is this increase based on? We need to monitor existing traffic numbers. Over the next 4 to 5 years, based on a 20% increase, this could amount to a minimum of 200 cars per day via Mayflower Road. We've all seen and heard about the problems of drop-off outside of the existing primary school since the installation of the 3 porta cabins. We would say we need to have figures presented before this application is fully agreed, because as we have no data, 20% of 0 is 0. So based on that fact, there will be no increase in traffic or pollution. Harris are planning drop-off points inside school boundaries with the relevant cost of insurance taken into account, for sure. And also drop-off points in Mill Lane. So they must have some idea of the increase in pollution and traffic flow. There's great concern throughout the UK regarding pollution. It's so bad that even the local bus company are considering dropping their service because they cannot get past the academy, even before the extra traffic created by this application. To sum up, we are opposed to access to the new primary academy being via Mayflower Road, which is not in the boundary of the new school. There's been no local consultation apart from a one-evening event at Harris Academy. No option to visit the council offices to see the plans, etc. There is also no data figures to work out the increase in pollution and traffic flow. We feel this application should be deferred until the relevant information is provided. Because of the lack of local parking enforcement, this area is an accident waiting to happen. And by accepting this proposal, could you live with yourselves if an accident happened? My name is John Bennett. I'm speaking on behalf of the Chafford Hundred Road Safety Forum, and I can only apologise that I cannot include the word linear in my presentation. It seems to be tonight's catchphrase. That's what I've got to say.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
I'll do my best to keep inside the 3 minutes for you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Personally, I'm delighted to see this primary school finally come to fruition. I am in favour of the application. There's very much a need for this in the local area. There's been an on and off issue for a number of years with the number of places in the area, so it is essential for the local community. Let me say that the location and the report ticks 9 out of 10 boxes for me. The close proximity to the two communities it serves is quite important. The good use of the existing sports field. The removal of containers in particular and replacement with modern buildings will be a good thing for the local landscape. The one box that does remain unticked, however, is that of the impact on the local road network, as we've already heard. Despite all efforts to ensure confidence, I don't believe that this box has yet been ticked. I want to ensure that the impact on the local road network will be as little as possible, but I do find this hard to believe. In my opinion, I find this report underestimates the use of the road already. Mayflower Road at peak times can be one of Thurrock's most dangerous roads, and I think we're just waiting for that to be evidential, in my opinion. I know there are limitations which prevent access from West Thurrock, so I'm not going to dispute them, but the proposals will have a huge impact on Mayflower Road. The road already drives the residents of Mayflower Road and offshoot roads mad, to be honest, and Councillor Taylor and myself often get a lot of correspondence from residents on this. Any increase on the roads will heavily impact the surrounding roads too, as I've already said. Roads like Hatfield Road, San Juan, San Luis, San Marcos, Santiago Way and other roads will find a major problem early in the morning leaving their homes to get to work or other places. The report says that the sports field's in constant use. There's going to be an issue with pupils crossing the road. I know that small offshoot road, that's the new road, will not be in use by cars all day long, but there will be an issue of pupils from the existing Harris primary and secondary getting to the sports fields. I would like some major assurances that this problem can be resolved. Chafford residents really cannot tolerate this problem any longer, let alone when there's more people travelling in on this road. There's a couple of little issues I picked up as we've been going through. It's kind of a double bonus for Chafford residents because they're going to get a new school and almost definitely remedial work on Mayflower Road, because I can assure you now that will be coming, because I don't believe that this 80% rule can be kept to. I think we're going to end up having to take serious work later on down the road. I don't think the junctions assessment's been relevant in my opinion. I think we've got to look at the road as a whole, because it's not just volume of cars going through, it's the behaviour of the cars going through as well, and how we enforce that, because that has been one of the issues over the past 3 or 4 years in my opinion.
Can I ask you to sum up, please?
No problem at all. The application is great news for Chafford, but I don't want to see it cause any more disruption on Chafford Hundred roads. Mr Bennett's made some good points previously, and he also speaks for a number of Chafford residents. This is a good news application, but I don't want to see it soured by impacts on the roads. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Looking forward to this opportunity to provide a new 5 form-entry primary school in Chafford Hundred. There is a clearly established and well-defined need for a new school to serve both Chafford and West Thurrock and to meet escalating demand for primary school places. This school will satisfy the need in this area for some years to come. The school roll opened in September 2014, and because of delays in the programme in securing the site, for the first 2 years, 3 forms of entry of children will be taught in temporary facilities until September 2016. The school will then transfer to the new school buildings. Children attending the school will grow by year group, with the first 2 years of 3 form entry and a third year expanding up to 5 forms of entry in September 2016. The school will not reach full occupancy until September 2022. No children will be taught in the new school until the building is complete in 2016. The principal impact of the scheme will be on traffic and highways, and much work has been done in cooperation with the Council's highway engineers, which we thank for their help in reaching a satisfactory highways and travel solution. The new school's vehicular access will be from Mayflower Road, while a pedestrian path enters the site from Mill Lane to the east. The new school will work hard to achieve the objectives of a detailed travel plan designed to encourage children to walk, use bicycles and scooters and public transport, with preference to the private car. And much has been said about an 80% target. That 80% reflects the travel patterns of the existing primary school, which is adjacent to this site. So it's a reasonable basis on which to make that assessment. The impact of the new school on an already busy highway network is of concern and something that needed to be properly addressed. And we believe, and I have here the TIA. I mean, Mr. Bennett suggested that not enough work would be done. If you see the size of this document and the information in it, there's an awful lot of work has gone into that and been analysed by the council and accepted. For those parents that do drive to the school is located some distance from the public highway on Mayflower Road, and parents will be encouraged to enter the site and drop off their children in a dedicated drop-off area adjacent to the school entrance. This is what we're talking about, stacking the driving down the access road so that the trouble won't be on Mayflower Road, it will be within the school site, any congestion caused by parents dropping off or picking up. But given that there's a very large car park dedicated to this activity, we don't envisage that will ever back up onto the highway network or cause problems beyond the site itself. The school itself is 2 and 3 stories in height and designed to meet all current indoor space and outdoor play space standards. We're pleased to be promoting a scheme that will see the significant improvement of this low-density, dirty and run-down container site into a modern and much-needed valuable community facility. We trust that members can support this application to provide a new school. There's a couple of points that have come up while I've been listening. First of all, one of the things that will be done to address the traffic issues is that there'll be a 30-minute staggered start for the school. So this school will start 30 minutes earlier than the adjacent 2 schools, so that the parents will help reduce overlapping of parents arriving. We're accused about not doing enough consultation. There has been a leaflet to all local houses which advertised a public exhibition that was held in the school. There's also the application published.
One of the most difficult decisions I've had to do in 3 years, because it's such a self-evident good, the need to get the proper school places that we need down there, against such, a clearly possible bad thing that could happen on that road. And I'm not usually a fan of deferral, right? Because I think we need to make decisions. But I just feel, for me, we've been given in the report, which is good, and I've got no qualm with the officers who've done the piece of work. We've been given what happens in an ideal situation, and I don't feel like I've got the kind of information that I need to be able to go and hold my head up. If a resident from down that way comes and says, "Oh, you voted for this, I'm putting up with all this traffic," I can't say, well, I knew fully what would happen if it didn't all go to plan. I don't know whether that's information that we could get in the process of a deferral. I think a deferral would allow us time to hear from Ensign. I think it would allow time for a little bit more communication with residents, because I think, as Mr. Bennett said earlier on, and as Charlie said when he came and spoke, I don't think anyone's opposed in principle to the school. I just think people need a little bit more information, a little bit more clarity about what it will mean, and a little bit more sense of what will happen if it doesn't fulfil the best case scenario.
It's rare that I intervene in planning committees, and it's twice in one night. And my view is not to sway members in relation to the application of the details in front of them, and I don't want to do that. So what I want to do is just give you some information so you can make your own judgment, because it isn't my view that I, as director, should try and persuade you to do one thing or another. But if I've got a role here, I've got a corporate role for the council, and I have intervened in this application, and I have had discussions with the chief executive and the director for children's, because if I might praise you, you've brought out a number of key points that are very relevant tonight. But there is a bigger corporate issue that isn't directly a planning issue, but it links to the land sale and the opening of the school in September. And what I've heard tonight is that, broadly speaking, as one of the councillors said, that 9 of the 10 boxes are ticked. The principles seem good, but quite rightly you're concerned about the final detail on the transportation side and the 80%. Being up front, I had discussions on that issue, and I said that was the key point. I intervened in those discussions, and as a result of that, assurances have been given by the council through the applicant and Harris Academy that the 80% will not just be notional, but will be agreed, and it's backed up with funding and management activity. I want to make sure that that's right and that you understand that that works. But I also know that without trying to put too much pressure on you tonight, you want that to be right, but we need a decision tonight to allow the land sale to take place as well. Otherwise, the land sale could be lost and the school might not open as well in September. Now, it's unfair of me to put that pressure on you. So what I would like, Chair, is if we could find a way whereby you agreed the permission and put the pressure on me to deliver for you the undertakings that you want in relation to the 80%, the traffic issue, and particularly more information on the bus and making sure that the bus can operate presumably on the private road and that we don't get conflict in the future. Because I want to do that for you because that's exactly what I said when I was talking to adults and to children's directorate, because I want that assurance as well. I think we are there, but you need reassuring. So what I would recommend, if you could make it work, Chair, with Andy and make it legal, is you to agree a permission subject to me sorting out the detail and contacting you members on how we resolve the problem and your concerns. How we do that, I'm willing to have development management staff tell me, but I hope you don't think I'm putting undue pressure on you.